Dude, well, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate you coming over here on the east side.
Yeah, man. It's a cool little spot over here.
Yeah, it's good. They got the whole ecosystem out here. We got the gym, we got the radio room, we got recovery center, co-working space, it's
Yeah.
everything.
I'm about to check it out when we get done here, see what's going on.
100%. I was gonna say we could get a lift in some time, but then you're like, yeah,
Mm,
I don't know.
I'll just walk through the gym. That's kind of more of what I do now
Okay.
at gyms. So just kind of walk around and pretend to do things, but I can't really do much more after obviously a lot of surgeries and injuries and stuff just playing football. So
How many surgeries did you have total in your time in the NFL?
in the NFL, I had 8 surgeries. I think total I've had 10 just in my life, but um, yeah, a lot of really my 2 back surgeries what really like set me back a lot. Those are the ones that mess with me daily, but a couple ankle surgeries, knee surgeries. I ripped my groin off the bone, thumb surgery.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been some pretty gnarly injuries. I was always lucky that I didn't have to have them until after the season. So I would make it through the season most of the time. And then every off season I would spend January, February like rehabbing. But the only one that really got me during the season was my groin
oh.
surgery. That one was pretty rough, but
Dude, how did that even happen? I've never even heard of you
I,
ripping your groin off.
well, I actually it was just late in the game, fourth quarter. Like obviously, like your muscles at that point are just kind of shot, and I had to do the exact same movement pattern 2 plays in a row. So I was covering this guy man to man, and I opened up like that, and it just like pulled it the first time, and then literally the next play was the exact same route, same man coverage, everything, and had to do the same thing. And I was just sitting there thinking, please don't go to my left because like my right groin is shit right now. And same exact thing. And then after that, I just kind of toughed it out through the rest of the game and then couldn't walk the rest of the night. And I was like, damn, something's fucked up here. So
Who were you playing for at that point?
that was I was in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you finish the rest of that season or were you
No,
done?
so I tried to like rehab it, did every freaking therapy you could think of, PRP, stem cell, like all the shit you could even dream up. Um, like especially in a year like it was like a contract year for me, so I was like I have to play this year. Um and they're even to the point where they were on the MRI, they were telling me that like there's one of these attachments you can actually they do like a release. They just let it go. You don't actually need it. And they were like we've actually had some of your teammates before that once they tore that, they were sore for 3 days and then they were able to play. So I was literally trying to like rip the rest of it off. So I was like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm just gonna fucking sprint until I rip it off, and then I'll be like sore for a couple days, and then, but that was not the case. So when they went into surgery, it was a lot worse than what the MRI showed, which is usually what happens.
And what year was that?
That was in 2018.
Okay, so you played to what, 2021?
Yeah, the 2021-22 season was my last year. I was in Indy, so I was able to squeeze out a couple more years after that.
Were you nervous at all after that injury that your career was going to be done?
Yeah, because not finishing the whole year, and then I was going into my 10th season, and as an old, you know, like white safety that like
We'll
just
call it seasoned.
yeah, seasoned. I was like, man, this is probably not a very desirable free agency pickup. Is like a guy that just is coming off surgery that's going into his 10th year. But ended up signing with Philly. It's kind of a crazy year. We signed in Philly, went back to Minnesota. Um, but yeah, so I was able to kind of overcome that. That was like really my last kind of big injury. My last couple of years was actually didn't have any soft tissue injuries, no surgeries. The only thing I had was concussions and COVID were the only kind of injuries that kept me out of the game my
Two,
last couple of years.
the two C's, man.
Yeah, yeah, they'll get you.
I'm actually from Philly. I'm a diehard Eagles
Oh
fan.
shit.
So I was hype when we signed you.
We have to fight each other probably. Like I feel like people from Philly, they just like want to fight and they just want to talk shit. So
Most do.
yeah,
Most do. Yeah. What was your experience like being in Philly for a couple months?
Philly was actually like I didn't really do anything in Philly,
Yeah.
but the team, the coaches were awesome. Doug Peterson was awesome. A lot of those guys that were there were like a core group of the Super Bowl team.
hmm
So they were all super close. Really good group of guys.
You were there 2019.
Yeah, so I was
right?
there basically. I signed in free agency. I was there all the way through like first half of the season of the 2019 year.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was great. I think I knew I've played in Philly a couple times and
NFC Championship
NFC
20.
Championship, got the shit kicked out of us. But we were in the first preseason game of the year, and there's not even a play happening on the field. It's like in between plays, and we just hear the crowd going crazy. And then we look behind us, and there's two Eagles fans beating the shit out of each other. Like, not even the opposing team, and it's a preseason game. So I'm like, damn, these guys are fucking nuts out here. That happened then another preseason game again, like just fans fighting each other in a preseason game. Then the first game of the year, opening game of the season, uh, after the game, we saw the video. One of the 76ers players was a Washington fan. So we played them first week of the season. Well, they jumped him in the parking lot. Like one of their own guys that played for the Sixers, like was there in a at the time
Bro,
Redskins
I'd
jersey.
never heard of
And they
this.
like literally there's videos all over the internet of them like jumping him in the like tailgate outside of the stadium.
Do you remember who it was?
No.
Dude, I'm immediately gonna have to look this up
Yeah.
after. That's insane.
I mean, I think he held his own, but like, he was so big and he has
Yeah.
all these little, Philly Eagle fans just like coming at him.
Dude, that is bizarre.
That was my experience in Philly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about actually playing in Philly?
Uh it was solid. Like, the fan base, and
Yeah.
they're just nuts. They're super loyal. I think they pride themselves on being like a little grimy,
Yeah.
you know? I've heard the rumor that there is like an actual holding cell in the stadium, but I don't know if that's actually true. I've never been
Yeah.
through the stadium. I've only been in the visitor locker room and the home locker room.
Yeah, I know they had one in the old stadium, the Vet, like way back in the day, which they think they tore that down in like 2004.
Okay.
And that's where the Eagles and the Phillies, it was Veteran Stadium. So the Phillies
Got it.
played there, baseball, and then the Eagles played there. And the stories that like my dad tells me about like going to the Vet as a kid, like are just insane. But I did hear that there was that under the Vet, but I don't know about at the Lincoln Financial Field now. I don't know, but
They
I
might have
wouldn't
made
doubt it.
one.
I
Like,
wouldn't doubt it.
yeah, they probably need to
Yeah,
if they don't have one already.
yeah, 100%. But dude, I was really hyped when we signed you actually because I played D3 football in college and I played safety, so I was like, the white safeties in the league. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, not necessarily a fan of Minnesota, but I loved you and Harrison Smith and Eric Weddle, some of my favorite players growing up. So I was actually really hyped when we signed you back in the day.
Yeah, it was interesting because at that time, Philly most recently had just beaten the shit out of us to prevent us from playing in, the first team to play in their home stadium for a Super Bowl. And then not, to make it even worse, the team that had just beaten the shit out of us, they were like in our city, like winning the Super Bowl. So it was just added insult to injury. But so we didn't really like Philly, but then once I got there, all these guys that I hated on film, they were all great guys. So it was a good place. They took care of the players. It didn't surprise me at all of like why they were able to win a Super Bowl with Doug and the players they had and the coaches they had.
Dude, I'd love to take a step back a little bit because it's interesting. I didn't know that you tore your groin in a contract year, but I knew you had a pretty bad ankle surgery your senior year at Rice. You were
Mhm.
crushing it. Like you had an insane career at Rice, like 300 something tackles, ton of interceptions, all league, all conference, all that. And, despite that injury, like still ended up getting undrafted as a free agent, going to the NFL, playing 12 years. So I would love to just kind of take it a step further and, bring it back to your career at Rice and your evolution there and how you eventually, had a sustained career in the NFL.
Yeah. I was able to start as a true freshman at Rice, and not really because I was probably the best for the position. Some of the older guys, and this happens a lot in football, guys will get hurt, and then you just kind of take advantage of that opportunity. And that's what would happen. That's what happened my freshman year, training camp. One of the senior guys, he got hurt, was able to earn a starting job. So I really just had a lot of tape, a lot of stats. Um, and like you said, my senior year, uh, I had a grade 3 high ankle sprain, surgery, the whole deal, and I did it, like, 1 game after, because I still had a red shirt available, so if I
Mm.
would've got hurt, like, 1 game before, I coulda just used that red shirt, but I didn't, and I got hurt too late, like, 1 game too late, so, I have no idea if I would've got drafted or got signed or whatever. I did have, a lot of tape, so that was what was good, just for being, like, a 4-year starter. So that, and I think at that point, I was just like, "Man, if I even get a tryout with a team, like, I'll be happy." I started to have a couple scouts come to practice, and that's when you kinda realize, like, "Oh, shit, like, this might actually be a thing," you know? I didn't go to Rice to I was like a two-star recruit. I went there to get an engineering degree, not to go play football. I didn't That wasn't even, like, on the horizon. Um, and then once you start to kind of, realize, like, "Oh, shit, like, there's actually scouts coming to watch me, like, I must be stacking up well against the other guys at my position in college football." It's always hard to tell, especially in a conference like Rice where how you compare amongst your teammates and the guys in your conference because you're seeing on the film, you're seeing them play the same teams and the same guys, but you don't really know how you stack up against like all the big schools. Like how do I compare against like these starting safeties that are all going to go like in the first round, you know? Um, and so I didn't get signed, didn't get drafted, obviously, and then I went and played in the United Football League, which doesn't even
I
exist
was gonna say,
anymore.
I don't even remember that.
No, it was around for like 3 years. It was just like kinda all these other developmental leagues. Um, 'Cause at the time, it was the best option other than going to Canada.
Mm.
Because if you go to Canada, they have rules on how many Americans they can keep on the roster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, otherwise we would just run them all out. It would just be the next American it would no longer be the CFL.
Oh, dude, I had no idea.
Yeah, so you actually, you can get kinda fucked if you, like, are good enough to make the team, but they have to meet these quota of having a
Huh.
certain amount of Canadians. So and it's also not, it's not normal 11-man football, the field's different, the rules are different. It's a whole different game,
Yeah,
so
what's the deal with the goalpost being, like, in the front of the end
some
zone?
Canadian shit, bro, I don't know. Go ask them, I have no idea. But so the UFL had started in 2009, and they had taken a lot of ex NFL coaches that had, maybe been out of coaching for a year or had just got fired, and then guys like myself that were trying to make it, or guys that had just got released from the NFL. So the talent level was still really high. It was all NFL schemes, NFL coaches. It was in America. So a lot of people that were directly, tied to the NFL. And it was an 8-game season. I was like, this is way, way better than going to Canada. And was lucky enough to get to start there, play well, had an 8-game season. Then all of those coaches, which Dennis Green was my head coach,
Mm.
rest in peace. Dante Culpepper was my quarterback. I got to play
Oh,
a
no
bunch of
way.
like, yeah, like I got to
In
play
the
against
UFL he was.
in the UFL. He was,
Wow.
yeah, because we had a bunch of like Minnesota connections, a couple of coaches that had coached in Minnesota before. Um, and was able to play well enough. And then all those coaches, they're like, "We're gonna get you on the roster. Like we're calling all the people that we know, blah blah blah." So was able to get signed out of the UFL in 2010 to the Cowboys. And just like most free agents, they kind of have to find their home. Was there for the last half of the 2010 season. Got cut in training camp the next year. Went to the Jets. Got cut from there. Did a bunch of workouts, trying to get signed, and then eventually signed with Minnesota at the middle of 2011, and then I was there for 9 years. And then just like most guys that play for a long time, their last couple of years they kind of do like these 1-year contracts. Um, and so I was, if you would have told me at the beginning that I would have played 12 years, like the way it started, where I was like fucking moving around everywhere, I was like, shit, I'll just be happy to like make a team one of these times. So, was able to squeeze out 12 years. So, I feel good about that.
Well, dude, I mean, even the fact that you weren't even planning to go to the NFL, like you just mentioned, like you went to Rice to get an engineering degree.
I
Rice,
didn't even
obviously a
get
great
that.
school. You did.
I went there and they're like, yeah, these are all the classes you're gonna have to take. You have labs like every day, blah, blah, all this stuff. And all the upperclassmen were like, dude, you're not gonna make it, man. Like my position coach in high school was my chemistry teacher. So I didn't learn any chemistry.
Yeah.
As you could tell, like in Texas high school football, like if you're a position coach, he was also I was a soccer player. He was the assistant soccer coach. So I was with him like all year round. So he loved me.
Did you guys play in the spring soccer?
Yeah.
Okay, in Pennsylvania,
Well,
fall. There was in the they were both in the fall.
yeah, so it's technically a winter sport.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So yeah, it starts like right after football season. But basically that was my chemistry teacher, so I didn't learn shit. So when I got to Rice, they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to take chemistry," and I was like, "I'll never pass that." Like I never learned a drop of chemistry. So all the upperclassmen were like, "Man, it's just about networking. Like you got to meet certain people. Like you'll be fine." So I elected to do sport management and a minor in business, and did not do engineering. So. Um, but here we are.
What would you have done if, like, say you didn't go to the league? What would you have done with, like, would have done something in sports management? Would you have stayed in sports? Did you have any idea of what you wanted to do?
Um, I actually interviewed with like 2 companies and I didn't get hired by either one. Like that's how not convinced I was that I was gonna go play football. Like I was like, I'll do these
You're
as a
still
backup.
interviewing. Wow.
So I interviewed with Deloitte. I interviewed with Accenture. I think I made it to like the second round of interviews, but I think it was more of like a minority
Mhm.
interview where they were able to check the box that they like brought in a Hispanic person. So um, but yeah, I think, the whole time I was like, I know I can play with these guys. Like that's what I'm gonna go do. I just kind of put all my eggs in one basket. And when you put all your eggs in one basket, you kind of don't really have a choice but to figure it out. So um I don't really like to live in the world of like the hypotheticals because you can say anything you want of like, oh, I would have done this or would have done that, but you don't actually know what life would have, handed to you, where you would have gone. So obviously anything involving sports, that's kind of why, I even did that as a major because it was something that related to me. It came natural to me. Um, but I think I've always kind of had the entrepreneurial mindset. Um, but uh, but yeah, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
No point in living in the hypotheticals.
Yeah.
So, where does you've got a couple bags right here, Braintree Nutrition. So obviously, supplementation has been something that I know I've heard you talk about, was something you were interested in, and utilized for, the duration of your football career. When was it that you had the idea for this, and did that come to fruition after you stopped playing, while you were still in the league? And kind of what is your background with, like, with supplements?
Yeah. So, I've always been into, you know, obviously fitness, health and wellness, like always been a workout junkie, even from a kid. Um, I would time myself in the mile, like made my dad build me a pull up bar, asked for a weight set way before I was allowed to. Finally got a weight set when I was in 7th grade on Christmas. I did bench press all day long, like for Christmas Day. Like that's what I did. But towards the end of my career, um, we just realized that there was a need for better brain health products. So myself, my partner, who also played in the NFL and went to Rice with me, we set out to formulate a line of products to help maximize brain health, to enhance and preserve cognitive function. Just witnessing firsthand the prolonged head trauma, TBI, concussions to ourselves and to our teammates, we realized that there was a need for this, and there wasn't really any kind of safe, transparent products out there that did that. So we originally started it just to kind of help ourselves and our teammates. We never even really started it to sell to consumers. And so we kind of just went down this line of like, let's address these different facets of brain health. Uh, we contracted out our medical advisory team of neurologists, a longtime NFL nutritionist, to help with all the formulations and the science. And we just laid out kind of these foundational brain health supplements to make it easy for people, including ourselves. These are the things you need to take that can maximize your brain health. So we pride ourselves on our ingredient transparency. We don't use any proprietary blends. All of our ingredients are backed by human clinical studies, whereas most supplements, sometimes they use ingredients that are studied on rats, and we are not rats. So, um, but yeah, that's really kind of the backstory. Just the prolonged head trauma, the concussions, wanting to make a better product for us and our teammates that was safe, that we knew didn't have any banned substances, which is why we make everything right outside of Austin here in Bastrop, in a NSF CGMP FDA registered facility. So ensures the potency, the purity, the safety of all the products, and like I said, everything backed by studies. And that's, like I said, we don't use any proprietary blends because we want you to know exactly what's in it, the exact dosage that's in it, so that you know you're getting an efficacious dose that can actually help,
Mm,
improve your brain health. So we went through these different areas, like I said, for focus, memory, neuroprotection,
mhm.
gut brain connection, reducing cortisol, reducing stress, sleep, obviously, like the one of the biggest parts of
Oh,
of
yeah.
all of that. And then most recently launched our kind of electrolyte nootropic blend, because that is also a huge part of cognitive function. Is just people are walking around dehydrated all the time, and they're supplementing with either all sugar or all salt, and they're missing kind of some key ingredients to help that. And so we'll continue to roll out more products that kind of make this robust line of products that can help your brain health. And for me, personally, towards the end of my career, just started to really notice the the head trauma and just the consistent kind of TBIs that I was getting were affecting my focus. That was something that was always my strong suit. Was I could remember every single play, just super sharp focus in the
Mhm.
meetings, but was starting to get a lot of, kind of ADHD type symptoms. And so it got to the point where uh, I went to like our trainers and I was like, hey, like, can I, because in the NFL, you can't take Adderall. It's a banned substance.
Right.
So you have to go through this whole process. So you have to go to the one team doctor that can assign you this Adderall. So I went to her for a 2-day interview, and she said, "Look, you definitely have ADHD." She said, "But through the NFL, you don't have a long enough history of taking this. Like, it's not going to get approved through the NFL. So, like, I can't prescribe you any ADHD medication." She said, "If you were a guy off the street, like 100%, I could give it to you." So that was another part of this, was creating these line of products to help improve your focus and your memory, because obviously, like in the game, you have to remember all this shit. There's so
Mhm.
many details that people don't even realize that you have to pay attention to, and it's all happening super fast with the stress of the game on you. And just even every week is like you have to learn this whole new um, data set for the week of their tendencies. When certain guys line up here, you tweak your calls every week. And then when that week's over, you have to forget all of it and remember a whole new set of plays, different strategy, different guys. And so there's a huge mental aspect to the game. And that was where this was going to be super handy and come in for guys to take that. Even in the meetings, I could see guys that like are, they're not really focused, they're not locked in. So to
Yeah.
help them with that. And then also just my very last play of my NFL career was me just getting completely fucking like knocked out, like
Mhm.
double whammy, like ran into the guy, went to sleep, and then did a nosedive like into the ground. Um, and that was my very last play. And so, obviously after that, a lot of memory problems, a lot of like just brain fog, um, just all the things you don't want when it comes to brain health. And so it was an easy segue into this as like a full-time deal. And I've just been able to kind of like almost revamp and restore the brain health that I once had by taking all of these products like, all together, and starting to like feel back to my normal self of being able to focus better, better memory, and overall just kind of how brain health is mental health. If you can't focus, you can't remember anything, that's going to leave you frustrated. You're stressing about certain things, you're not sleeping well, like all these things all play into your mental health. So um, we also donate a portion of our proceeds to Alzheimer's research. So we're on the forefront of trying to prevent degenerative brain disease and just really give everyone kind of the tools to use to improve their brain health. So that's kind of the backstory on Braintree, how it got started, where we're at, and yeah.
Yeah. So what does a proprietary blend actually
Yes.
mean?
So a proprietary blend would be like most of the supplements you guys see today.
So like
Like so
CVS like type
well, it'll
type
be
deal.
so what a supplement would do is they will instead of having like for example. Oh. All right. So a proprietary blend will show you every single or sorry, like our supplement facts panel will show you every single ingredient and exactly what's in there. A proprietary blend would take this whole, bottom part and put like the Braintree super blend, and then it'll just have the total amount of all these ingredients, but they won't show you how much of each actual ingredient. And so that's a way that companies are able to use fillers, or
Mhm.
they're able to put all the cheap ingredients in there, and then the actual quality ingredients they can put less in there, and then they can have better margins, and then they can sell you and market it as like, oh, this has this and this. Well, I don't know how much is in there because it's all hidden in this blend.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what that's one of our big points that we pride ourselves on, is just letting you know exactly what's in there and exactly what dose. You don't have to guess. We did all the research for you. Like, we went and looked through all the studies and everything. We just wanted to make it easy for people, so you don't have to go research like, okay, well, what's going to help me with my focus and my
Mhm.
memory. We already did all the work for you. We put it all into a bottle, so make it easy for everybody.
So what were some of the ingredients, or you mentioned after you had the interview with, was it from
Yeah, like the
somebody,
team, like psychiatrist.
team psychiatrist, right? So she recommended some stuff to you. What were some of the things that she recommended to you, and did you actually start to see a difference in your, cognitive
Well,
focus?
I mean, she actually didn't recommend shit. She just was
Really?
like, "Look, you have ADHD for sure. I just can't write you a script because, like, in order to be able to take Adderall in the NFL, you have to have a TUE, which is a therapeutic use exemption. So that way, when you go take a piss test and amphetamines show up, you don't test positive. You're allowed to take it." She's like, "But the NFL is not ever going to approve this because you have never taken Adderall in your whole life."
Mm.
So there's obviously some type of late onset due to like the head trauma and just life in general, probably. So that's when we set out to kind of research on these ingredients of what can help. Um, and like I said, like, brought on my partner, his mom is our neurologist on our medical advisory team, to help kind of validate these studies, because if you ever read any of these studies, they're not always easy to comprehend. So a
Yeah.
lot of times we look them up, we send them over. Hey, is this study saying that, like, can we make this claim that it does this? And then also just consulting with our nutritionists, our manufacturers are been in the supplement industry for forever, so they're really good kind of mentors for us as well. And that's where we started to start to formulate all these ingredients and the correct dosages in order to, like I said, just improve your focus, memory, neuroprotection.
When you were playing either high school, college, NFL, what were some of the supplements that you took and relied on?
So when I was in eighth grade, there was this product that came out that was called Ripped Fuel. Do you remember?
Dude, no. I
Okay,
have no idea.
so I think later it got banned by the FDA because I'm pretty sure it had some derivative of like ephedrine in it or something. But we had one guy. This is just a story. This I didn't use this throughout my career,
Yeah.
but in eighth grade, our whole team was taking this Ripped Fuel stuff, and we were going fucking ape shit, and we won like the district championship for the first time in like a very long time at our school, because and then we later found out we were taking like a ingredient that was like illegal, basically.
Sheesh.
But I wasn't really big on um supplementation and nutrition probably until like college, when I finally started to see the benefits of certain things like creatine monohydrate,
Mhm.
just proper nutrient timing with pre, intra, post workout, um, learning about macros, diet, how much protein do I need, um, going through all that. And so, I think what also led to that was the fact that I had all these other boxes checked. Like, I was like, okay, I know I'm a hard worker. I train hard.
Mhm.
Like, I have a great, obviously, our strength coaches that you have are some of the best in the world. But there was this other area that I was like, okay, I need to like dial in the nutrition part. So I just kind of went down this deep dive, um, probably towards like the end of my college career of like, how do I maximize all the training I'm doing? So learned a lot there. Um, and then I just been into it ever since. And that actually, when Rice built their end zone facility in like 2018, I donated the Andrew Sendejo Nutrition Center in the weight room. So that's like where all the guys get their RTDs and their snacks and all the different stuff like that. So
Sick.
was my way of giving back to Rice University.
No, I love that, and I love how you were saying now too. It's like it's not like supplementation is like your insurance policy on top of like the other lifestyle
Yes.
things that go into it.
Yeah, like, I always tell people, like, I don't actually recommend a supplement the first thing that, when someone's like, "Oh, I'm sleep I wanna improve my sleep, or I wanna improve my focus," or whatever, your supplements are supposed to supplement your diet. You should try to do everything as naturally as you can, but when there's certain things when you're deficient in, you can't get them any other way than in a supplement form. Um, and that's where the supplements come in to help aid in that area, but they should not be your entire diet, and you shouldn't be reliant or dependent on them. And even like I said, like sleep is kind of the foundation, not even it is the foundation of mental health, physical health. It's a literally a performance enhancing drug. It enhances everything, but I won't recommend our sleep product at first. Like I'll tell them other ways to improve their sleep, and then if they still have a problem sleeping, then I'll say, okay, then you can take something. But you should try all these areas first. And I'll even recommend to people like if you don't need to take the sleep product, like don't take it. Only take it when you need it.
Mm.
Um, so like I feel like most people would be like, no, you have to take our stuff. It's gonna but we're just not really like that. We actually care. That's why we choose our products to be at the price point they're at. We're not trying to like scam anybody or anything. We just wanted to make a solid line of products um, that we know work.
So while you were at Rice or while you were in the NFL, I'm always curious about this. Like, did they teach you a lot of what you know about nutrition? Were they telling you what you should be eating, or was a lot of it just like self study, self experimentation?
Yeah, I learned a lot on my own. Like, obviously we have nutritionists that will come talk to you and tell you certain things, but they're not going to get into like the very nitty gritty of it. They're not going to explain things in depth. Um, and there's a lot of guys that don't really care about nutrition. They're just such freaks. Like they don't even need nutrition. They can literally eat like shit. They were just kind of built like that. But a lot of the kind of the knowledge that I acquired was like on my own. I would actually go into like a Barnes and Nobles and I would just go to the nutrition section and I would just like pick out a book, just read through it, like kind of steal some notes and different things and then just put it back on the shelf and then leave.
Do you feel like that was you trying to gain an edge over the people
Had
who were
to.
like genetic
I
freaks?
mean,
Yeah.
literally that was part of my strategy was I have to be like as lean and in shape in a safe way, like not too lean, but like I need to be in as the best shape that I can possibly be in order to even give myself a chance to compete at this level. Like,
Mm.
like you said, compared to everyone else's kind of freak athletic ability, I was not at that level. And I knew that and I was aware of that. So like I was always trying to find a way to maximize what I did have. And that's why I kind of always preach that the game, although it is a physical game, you do have to be athletic. You can't not be athletic, but there's so much there's such a big mental part of the game that can if you already know what the play's about to be, then you can play at a 4.2, 4.3 speed, even if you're not a 4.2, 4.3 speed guy like me, because you've studied all the tape, you've memorized all the details that you have to before the game, and you're just prepared as prepared as you can be for the game.
So how did you go about like a year of cycling through, an NFL season, right? Because you have obviously the season is crazy long in and of
It's way too
itself.
fucking long.
Wait, and
It's the
now,
longest thing in the world.
so now they got 17 games too, which I'm sure you're probably like,
It's
what
the
the hell's
dumbest
going
shit.
on here?
Like, at least make it 18 games.
Yeah.
Like now it's all It was perfect at 16 games. You know, you had like your 4 quarters of
Yep.
4 and
Yep.
like it was just easy to split it up like, "Hey, we're halfway through the season."
Mhm.
And now it's with the 17 games, it's just I don't know. And they'll probably continue to add games. 16 was already way too many games.
Yeah.
Could do like 12 is like just right.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that because 14 just sounds weird.
I also think the games are too long. They should be like 3 quarters like hockey.
Dude, I mean, the Eagles were playing the Bills, like, 2 weeks ago, and it was like a 4.5-hour game with overtime.
It's just I mean, by the time the 4th quarter comes, no bullshit. Sometimes you're like, dude, we still have like a whole quarter left. Like, this is fucking taking so long. I just would rather the game be, a lot more intense
Mm,
and a little bit shorter. Because I also think guys would play harder because they know that they're not gonna have to play for 3 hours straight,
yeah.
you know? Um, but that'll obviously never happen. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, you never know, like, they've added in, like, the MLB, they've added the pitch clock, and
Yeah.
games have gone down significantly. I think basketball is even worse. Those NBA games are freaking forever, especially when they start fouling each other at the end of every
Yeah.
game. So, I don't know, I wouldn't say never, but you're right, it probably if anything, they're just gonna keep making it longer.
Yeah, like, they'll probably add a quarter and then add more games just for more revenue, but
So
whatever.
how did you go about maintaining your body throughout the year, right? Because obviously your body is cooked by the end of the season. It's a short off season, and then you got training camp, OTAs, preseason, and all that. So what did like a year of like cycling look like to make sure that you were staying on top of keeping your body right?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with, like, the off season. So, like, the season just ended, go to the off season. It's really just you have to, like, mentally and physically kinda recover in whichever way that is. Vacation, don't do anything. I would literally just eat and drink like shit on purpose for, like, a month just to like, get it out of my system, and then I could, start training again. And it depended too on if I had any surgeries, what my injuries were like, but typically you would kind of just wait until you started to feel well, like your hamstring wasn't sore anymore, like your shoulders weren't sore anymore, and then you could start getting back into things. But a lot of the off season, February, March, and then part of April before you go back, it was really strength oriented. That's like kind of your only time to really lift heavy and build like this foundation of strength because once you go back in the middle of April, then you're back in meetings, you're doing a lot more position specific drills, and the lifting kind of goes down. Um, so I really, for me to kind of injury proof myself, I always found that when I lifted heavy and I was strong, that was when I had less injuries, less soft tissue injuries, no surgeries. So that was always really important for me. And then the other one was being in shape. So obviously, like when you're tired and it's at the end of the game or end of the practice, that's when you would have soft tissue injuries, pulls, strains, whatever, because you're tired and then you're straining to like make a play, but your muscles are not conditioned to that, and that's when guys will typically, pull a hamstring or whatever. So being strong and being in shape were kind of always my two foundational kind of pieces that I would do to kind of like, bulletproof or like injury proof myself for the season. Um, and then as the season goes on, you really don't lift that much at all. You only lift twice a week, maybe 3 times if you want to get like some extra like gun show or something, but that's it. Like you're not lifting heavy. It's literally just maintenance. So we just try to, hit the weights that I had hit at the start of the season, just try to keep those consistent. But then, as the season goes on, you have certain injuries, you can't lift for like a week or two. So usually throughout the season, it would actually, your body composition would change a little bit because you're running way more, you're lifting way less, so you're eating way more carbs. It turns into kind of almost this like endurance type nutrition protocol. Um, but I would say just as far as staying staying healthy and being ready to play. Like any recovery modality that they can dream up, you would try. Anything to make you feel better. So, a lot of stretching, a lot of massages, a lot of dry needling. I wasn't a huge like ice tub guy. Like I would literally only get in the ice bath to like just to wake myself up before practice, but not a lot of ice baths. I would rather do like elevated feet with Normatex on so I could watch film at the same time than go like freeze to death in the in the cold tub. Also because like when you live in Minnesota, you don't want to you want to go anywhere else that's cold. Like it's already cold everywhere else.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not getting in the fucking tub.
You big at sauna?
Um, I didn't really do a ton of sauna during the season
Mhm.
because of you're already, sweating so much at practice. Like
Right.
you really, um, really after practice, you're trying to rehydrate and get those levels back up versus like
Mhm.
dehydrating yourself even more.
Right.
But we did have some guys that, I mean, this is like back in like 2011 or 12, they like swore by the sauna. And this was before all these studies that are coming out now and how beneficial it is. Like these guys were like, I swear if I just sauna, like I feel I can handle the heat better. I can do it. And they were right. Um, but we would occasionally sauna, but that was only if like we had been drinking the night before or something. But
How big of a role do you think nutrition played in, performance and longevity for you?
a huge part. I think it aided in the training that prepared you for the season, helped recovery, just knowing what know about the nutrient timing and just how to recover. I think it helped a ton with those things. And I think, like we said earlier, like for me, I needed every ounce of help that I could get. And so if, being dialed in on the nutrition was going to help me, I did it. I didn't really skip out on anything that um, would help. So, I mean, during the season, obviously you get tired after practice, after meetings, and all you want to do is just go home and get on the couch and like even going to get a massage like sounds not ideal. Like cuz massages aren't uh they're usually painful for when you're trying to like
Yeah,
recover.
dude.
Like there's nothing that you do that feels good. Like you're just always in pain. Even the things that you do to reduce pain are also painful. Like
Yep.
the dry needling, the massages, all
Foam
this
rolling, all
all
that,
the
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So, it's really just like just constantly being in pain, but it's just part of it.
So, I mean, we're talking a lot about brain health. Obviously, you created a brain health supplement company. What were some of the other things that you did to maximize your brain health? Were you into meditation, breath work, any holistic approaches or anything like that?
No. No. Um I was yeah, like I feel like a lot of that is kind of coming to light now. A lot of like
Sure.
more studies, a lot more people are talking about it. Um, but while I was playing, there wasn't a lot of that. Um, I think for me it was I knew sleep was important and I knew nutrition was important. I definitely focused on those two things. But I mean, yeah, I would say that for I mean just overall brain health, like a lot of these ingredients that are in here, we started to know about them, like, before we really formalized the company, but, we were taking them kinda all separately too,
Mm,
and then again, like we said, like, you're getting drug tested all the time, so if the supplements are not NSF certified, you don't know, so, we're just kinda out to find, like, well, where can we find this ingredient that's we know is safe? Um, and so that was kinda one of the reasons why we started this is we wanted to make products that we knew were safe that we could take, our teammates could take.
I'm really interested in the next generation for like football players too, especially like there's just so much coming out now on, the brain health and, CTE of players. I mean, it seems like you're doing all right yourself, but I know there's a lot of people who have unfortunately had, a lot of long-term brain damage and hearing a lot of, ex NFL guys, ex college guys saying, yeah, like my kids will never play football. So I was curious, what your thoughts are on kind of like the future of football and brain health, and with all these studies coming out on football players after they're done playing, having CTE and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's why the NFL is becoming as strict as they are on these head-to-head contact penalties, leading with the head, trying to do what they can to, um, prevent players from going back in the game with concussions because, you know, that is the future of the game. If everyone's kind of all, when they're done playing, they're all having these, degenerative brain diseases and different brain health issues, like the league will, I mean, people are not going to want to play football anymore as much as they come to light. Um, but I think it's definitely something that is part of the game. I think maybe like more of my kind of generation, that was like what we grew up on, was like football was like a violent physical sport. Um, like if you couldn't, as a DB, like if you couldn't knock the ball down or intercept it, then you would try to hit him as hard as you could to dislodge the ball. That was just like kind of part of it. But a lot of that's changing now, and even the game is just changing in general. Um, and not necessarily because of brain health, but really just like whoever's winning the Super Bowl every year, that's who every owner and every GM is going to try to emulate.
Mhm.
And that team is the Kansas City Chiefs. And so the Kansas City Chiefs are not a like power downhill football running team. They're a basketball on grass. And so now that is starting to slowly trickle and affect the entire game. So now you're having, instead of having, bigger like run defense safeties that are down in the box, now you're basically having four corners on the field. Now your linebackers are kind of more cover guys, and the game is turning into less of like a downhill kind of power type game. It's turning into this like, more aggressive 7-on-7 game. And so I think that will also kind of eliminate a lot of these kind of head traumas and concussions. They're still going to happen, but I think the way the game is evolving too, there's just going to be less contact, and the way they're throwing penalties on like every hit, like eventually guys are just gonna just wait for the guy and then just like fall down with them. So it's just part of it.
Do you think that hit that you had on Marcus Wheaton would be called a penalty today?
I think it actually was, but then they picked up the flag later.
Dude, I was watching I was looking back and watching some of your highlights. That, I mean, in my opinion, that was clean.
It was clean.
I was s
If you look at the slow,
textbook clean.
it's the quarterback's fault. And even I'm so glad even Tom Brady said this, because this is
Yeah,
what I have been saying this whole time, that it's the quarterback's fault. The quarterbacks will throw the ball where they're not supposed to throw the ball because they know that the penalty is going to be on the defender and they're going to get a personal foul and
yep.
they're going to get automatic first down. So why not throw it there? And they're just literally hanging their guy out to dry, or they're fucking dumb and they can't read the defense. And so they're throwing it where they're not supposed to. That's a lot of the issue. Or the receivers are fucking dumb and they're, not stopping in the zones. They're running through zones. And going into the next zone, and they're going to get their head taken off. So it's a combination of a lot of those things. But um, a lot of the, a lot of the penalties thrown are, it happens so fast. The ref can't actually see like where he hit him at. Who It's a violence foul. We always
Right.
say it's just a violence foul. If it looks violent, the ref's going to throw a flag regardless, just because they kind of have to, and then they can go look at it like slower and they can kind of talk about it. You'll see them like after some of those plays, they'll all get together and they're like, "Hey, like that was clean," or like, "No, like we'll keep the penalty." So that's just the way the game is.
So, with Braintree, are you guys doing, or do you have plans to do work with, the youth, or high school or college, and kind of just like getting supplements like this into the hands of these people to help these players, these athletes, to help with, prevent cognitive decline? Or is this for the everyday individual? Or who's kind of your target market that you're
Yeah.
leaning towards?
We started out with, like I said, for us, our teammates, our peers, but then as it's evolved, we've realized that there's people everywhere all over the world that are struggling with these same issues, and they're not all due to repetitive hits to the head, just life in general.
Mm.
People want to focus better, people want to have better memory, people want to remember where they put their keys, or like, where did I park my car? Like, what was that guy's name again? All those different things. People, um, even with the mental health landscape, um, people are stressed. Life is stressful. We got a lot of shit going on. And I feel like every single person I talk to wishes they could sleep better, or they're maybe having trouble sleeping. It's crazy how many people you talk to that are having trouble sleeping. That's
Mm.
like, it's actually kind of amazing how many people struggle with sleep. Um, but yeah, we are, obviously we give this out to all of our contacts in the NFL. We did a NIL deal with the Rice football team, the whole Rice football team, to where we offered up a deal for those guys. And it's slowly but surely like getting to the youth. A product like this, like not necessarily for like youth football. We would rather just youth football, just like not tackle anybody yet, like just learn the fundamentals of football, maybe tackle when you get older. But yeah, and we give this to our moms, our family. Like I said, we're customers of our own company. That's really how it started. And so just trying to advocate for this, kind of brain health movement, and just helping people wherever we can.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. And when you're thinking about this too, where do you see this going in within the next couple of years, right? Like ultimately, like how are you trying to gain awareness? How do you guys think you're going to be able to stand out in this crazy world of, everybody's got a supplement company, right? Everybody's pushing this product or that product. Like, how do you guys plan to separate yourself?
Yeah, I think it's just staying on top of um, the new ingredients that are coming out, staying on top of new formulations, different products, different dosages, different studies that are showing, okay, well, actually, there's all this new research coming out showing that, this ingredient, you actually only need this amount, or you actually need more. And so I think part of it is just staying on top of all the new products that are coming out, so you can continue to release new formulations that are backed by studies.
Mm.
Um, and like I said, just continuing to give people a fair price point. We're not marking our product up like 100x like some people. And continuing to be transparent with the label and the ingredients, and showing you exactly what you're getting. Um, we also put all of the studies for all the ingredients on our website, to where if you don't believe us or you want to read it for yourself, we have it all right there for you. And so I think that's where, we kind of separate ourselves, is that we didn't make this to, um, we made this to help, versus we didn't want to, like, we didn't make this as like, oh, we can make a ton of money if we like make supplements.
Right.
It was like I said, like we made it for ourselves first, and then we were like, well, shit, we need to give this to our teammates. Like, I see that guy in the meeting, like that guy can't pay attention for shit, or like he can't remember shit, or like
Mhm.
this guy has a concussion. And we'll even have guys now that after they get a concussion, we don't charge them or anything. Like they'll just text me, like, hey man, can you send me some?
Mm.
Send it off. Um, and so I think that's kind of one of our huge kind of differentiators compared to a lot of other people that, like I said, are using blends, or
Yeah.
very low dosages, or putting ingredients that like have no clinical studies to support it.
Mm. So for a long time, health was performance for you. And I know, like, for me, like, I look at it now as like, for my time playing football, it's like you're optimizing for performance, not necessarily like health and longevity now. So now that you're done with the game, what does health look like for you? How do you define that?
I think health for me, um, is more of a mental aspect. Doing the things that I couldn't do while I was playing football. Missed out on a lot of family time. Missed out on a lot of friend time. But those are all the sacrifices you have to make to do what the guys do in professional sports, not just football. And um, so I think, now it's focused on helping others. I kind of always said you got to help yourself before you can, help others. And so I've already done that. And so now this is where I can help other people through this. Um, I think, focusing on, like I said, things that make you happy that you couldn't do before, that you maybe missed out on before. Like, I think last year, my first year being retired was like the first time I was with my entire family on Christmas, and like
Mm.
since I was a kid, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I would say that's kind of how I would define health. Health now, not as much as a physical thing, but a mental thing.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self trying to make it in the league?
Play with more confidence. Like, you don't know, you obviously don't know. Even in high school, I didn't know I was going to go be a 4 year starter in college. If I would have known that when I was in high school, I would have walked out there like way more confident. Like, yeah, I'm a Division 1 caliber football player. And then even at Rice, same thing. Like, obviously, I didn't even think I would go to the NFL at all, let alone play for 12 years, and um, would have played with a lot more confidence, even in the NFL, knowing that I was a starter caliber player, being like just on the cusp of, getting cut every year to like being only a special teamer to being a starter, of just like playing with more confidence, like you belong there.
I love that. Dude, first just wanted to say thank you for your time today. I appreciate you coming by and just all the work that you're doing in the industry, in the space. I like to ask my guests at the end of it. This is the Pure Ambition podcast. So I like to ask, when you hear those words together, pure ambition, what do they mean to you and how does it apply to your daily life?
Pure ambition, I think, would just be like, what's your natural drive? Like, like, you don't even think about it. It's just like, what naturally, you know, is your calling, or what, like, if you could do anything, like, what would you do? And I even advise that with just football. Like, football was not, when I was telling people I was going to go try to play in the NFL, they looked at me like I was fucking crazy. And they're like, okay, well, like, good luck with that. And I'm like, okay. And like, that's where I just tell people, like, just go do like what you want to do. Um, put your eggs in the one basket and make it happen. Um, but yeah, I would say pure ambition is like, what's your just natural driver? Like, what do you wake up and just like want to do?
Mm. Dude, I just studying kind of your career and just listening to the way that you've gone about your career, you know, post or rather your life post NFL, you kind of just have this like mentality of just like don't take yourself too seriously, don't take life too seriously and just like do your best at whatever you can and like the rest will take care of itself. So that's been my biggest takeaway from this conversation and just, seeing how that you've lived your life is like if you just go the extra mile, if you actually like live with intention and just realize that like at the end of the day, it's just football. It's just whatever, and apply that to your daily life. Like the outcome is gonna take care of itself. So I just want to say I appreciate the way that you go about your life,
Yeah, man. Thank you.
dude. So thank you again. If people want to connect with you, if they want to check out more of your products, get their hands on some Braintree, what's the best
Yeah.
way?
You can go find us at braintreenutrition.com. You can find us on socials at Braintree Nutrition. Um, yeah, go check us out, man. Like I said, every sale, we donate a portion of our proceeds to Alzheimer's research. So,
Love it,
not only helping yourself, but helping others.
love it. Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
you.
you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I wanted to give you all a heads up too that I launched a free community on the Upspace app where you can join, ask me questions, connect with like-minded individuals, follow my 4-week running and strength training program that has some dedicated mobility sessions in there as well, so that we can all optimize our health and fitness together. So if you're interested, head over to the App Store, download the Upspace app, and join the Pure Ambition community today. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.